college football, all things sports with the great John Canzano, johncanzano.com, brought to you by Zeke's Pizza, homegrown in the Northwest, Zeke'sPizza.com. Follow John, social media, John Canzano BFT. Listen to him, Bald Face Truth in Portland, Oregon, 7:50 the game, where he's taking angry phone calls. What are the Blazers going to do at the trade deadline? Nothing. That's what they're going to do, nothing. Hi, John, how are you? Oh, you've muted yourself. Unmute you.
How about now?
There you go. Check 1, 2. Syphilis.
You know what's interesting about that whole Blazers topic is I used to get angry phone calls, but I think the apathy for the team has, and you know this, hosting your show over the years, like the worst thing that could ever happen to a team is that for people stop being angry and they go into this apathy thing. I think Blazer fans are apathetic. They're looking at Jody Allen going, are you going to sell this thing? They're waiting for the Celtics to be sold. I did not mute myself. Let me check my
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
It's okay. This is the beauty of doing things live.
Yeah, live. There we go. How about now? Are we good? Yeah,
we can hear you a little bit. I don't know if you're on the same microphone that you were on before. This is very reminiscent of hold on, of Jim Moore the other day.
How about now? We good?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. All right. So
yeah, the Blazers, they're a dumpster fire. It's so funny how everyone down there hates her. And then I don't know if people up here hate her. I think they're indifferent. They're like, she's not really a presence up here, so people don't really pay attention to it. So it's just interesting. It's interesting how the two fan bases are different in how they view her.
Yeah, and I think the NFL is just a different league, isn't it? Like it becomes a different league because it's a more forgiving league for teams to tank. And you can go 8-8 even in a rebuild. So the Blazers are in a rebuild, and it's the NBA.
Yeah. All right. Hey, the latest story that you got up there at johncanzano.com.
For sure.
You Pac-12 ADs meeting in California, talking about media rights and expansion. What's the latest on both those fronts?
Well, I'm managing the audio settings again, but I'm just going to keep it here because it's better. Okay.
Yep.
Is it better?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So listen, the Pac-12 athletic directors are meeting today, right now. They're in a meeting room in San Ramon. They are assembled there. They met yesterday all day. They got an update on the media rights front yesterday. They are talking about logistics for 2026. They wanted to get in the room together over 2 days, really to kind of see each other eye to eye and make sure that they're all on the same page and manage that all the little things that we don't think about. But the two big elephants in the room are media rights and expansion. And so today is the expansion update day, and they're talking specifically about football today. So they're trying to sort through the options on expansion and kind of what the strategy will be. I'm being told like no decision's going to be made today, but the ADs are definitely getting the update. And what's interesting here, Puck, is, and people may not know this, but the presidents ultimately make the call. The presidents and the commissioner and the media rights people make the call. But these presidents on these New World Pac-12 campuses are very much aware of the mistakes that were made before them. And as I talk with some of these presidents, they seem to be far more connected to the ADs than that old group of Pac-12 presidents back in the day. Like, I don't know how much Anna Marie Casse was working in lockstep with Jen Cohen at Washington. And Kirk Schultz, clearly there's been some issues with him at Washington State, but it just seems that like the new group, the San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, Gonzaga, they're in the room now. And those ADs are like lieutenants, right? And so the ADs are now going to leave this meeting. They're going to go consult with their presidents. And I think what we're seeing in this last 48 hours is the Pac-12 kind of getting its act together and figuring out, hey, do we want to stay best of the West and are we going to be UNLV and Nevada in this round? Is it going to be Tulane and Memphis? Will it be 2 or 3 of those? Will it be someone else? Like, those are the decisions that they're hammering out right now. And certainly yesterday was media rights. Today, expansion.
Okay, so when do we get the resolution? Because I would assume nothing happens, John, with expansion until we get the resolution of the lawsuit, right? Of the poaching fee with the Mountain West. When do we think that is resolved?
Yeah, well, there's a hearing on that front in March. But everyone I talk to, Puck, says that, settlement will happen. These sides are going to get together. The departing schools of the Mountain West are all suing the Mountain West as well. They're trying to sue them to say, hey, the $17 million exit fee is too high. And so I think there's going to be some settlement down in that area. I'm being told by, industry people who are watching this, they're saying, hey, that 17 mil per school could end up being closer to 10 or 12 million. Well, you're suddenly now, 5 or 7 million per school less if you're the Mountain West. And then that $55 million poaching penalty, it could go away altogether, Puck. It could just disappear because, the Pac-12's assertion is that they're on good legal ground. So if they start to, in March, get some settlement, early March settlement activity, I expect that's going to affect the attitude of UNLV and Nevada, because what? They're expecting to get 24% or whatever percentage they negotiated of that pool of money. And if that pool of money starts shrinking, suddenly the Pac-12 can turn to UNLV and Nevada and go, okay, look, you're getting 8 or 10 million if you stay. We've got 8 or 10 million if you go. And then suddenly you have a real conversation happening. Everything else is hypothetical until that happens. But I continue to be told that the expansion piece may happen just before the media rights piece. And I think that lawsuits are all going to shade that. And I won't take a resolution on the lawsuits. All that UNLV and Nevada have to hear is that, hey, this is trending in a direction that says that pool of money is going to be much smaller than the Mountain West promised. Because Gloria Nevarez, to her credit, the commissioner of the Mountain West, held that thing together with the promise that she's going to pay all this money. And if that promise doesn't come to fruition, I think she's going to have a difficult time with UNLV, Nevada, Air Force, the teams at the top of that conference.
Are they tied together, UNLV and Nevada? Is it like a state thing that they have to, wherever they go, they must be together?
We've seen regents in some states like Arizona who have stepped in and said, stay together. I'm told, look, you can look at the history there. The Nevada regents have allowed them to go into separate conferences before. Maybe that plays a role. But if I'm a regent in Nevada, I would ideally like to keep them together because I think, the perception would be that Nevada would be left behind. So maybe that's a negotiating piece that, UNLV and Nevada can, this is the one conference that would take both of them. I think the Pac-12 would love probably to have that geography stay in a nice tight footprint and not have to go to Memphis or Tulane. But we will see. I still am targeting March 17th, that first Thursday of the NCAA tournament. The ball will be thrown in the air. I'm kind of targeting that for we should know who's in the Pac-12 when that happens.
Media rights. What are we hearing on that front? What does it look like? Where is it going to be?
Yeah,
how do we access it?
2 ADs yesterday who were in the room I talked with last night. The ADs had this big steak dinner, Puck. They went out to this nice steakhouse together, San Ramon. And, I said, what was the mood? Because nobody's really sharing, here are the nuts and bolts of what we learned. I said, just give me the mood in the room. And one said there was this definite feeling that this is happening. This is big time. And another said, we left feeling like we could conquer the world. And I think he was kind of half kidding. But the other thing that came out of it was I was told by somebody that, there's a new and innovative broadcast idea that's out there. Wrap your mind around that because, is there something that the Pac-12 could do, maybe even with basketball only, that would be different and innovative than what everybody else is doing? And maybe they're the kind of conference that's willing to make a bet on themselves in that way. Maybe, maybe somebody like Apple is back in the room. I don't know. But new and innovative caught my attention.
Is new and innovative maybe just going back to cable?
Puck in his living room with the bunny ears.
Yeah. Here's the one thing in experiencing it this year for basketball.
Yeah.
The ESPN Plus product, it's garbage.
Yeah.
It is just, it's not good. It can be good if they invest in it, if they actually put some effort into it, but they put no effort into it. I mean, John, it's high school sports. That's how they treat it. It's the home team's announcers.
Yeah.
I'm watching the game when they played for Washington State. They played was it Pepperdine? You know, the halftime show, because they don't go back to a studio, is these two guys who are calling Pepperdine basketball, and they're interviewing the Pepperdine lacrosse coach. I've done high school broadcasts that were the same quality as this. Yeah. So if it's more of that route with ESPN Plus, which I like ESPN Plus because it gives everybody an option to be someplace, it's got to improve.
Yeah, ESPN Plus is using a piece of equipment called a TriCaster, and I have one of those in a studio at my house. Like you know, it's not a
you just turn it on and you can go, right?
You can turn it on and go, and you can connect broadcast anywhere, and you can kind of pre-format some pre-rolls. You hit a button, and you know all the graphics will pop up, and probably similar to what you're doing, right? You know, with your broadcast. Yeah. And they use it mainly, or they used to use it to do like small level events, like you know, if they're going to a pickleball tournament or something, and you know, you don't want to send a whole production truck there. And so they now are using it to do like these, you know, these one-off basketball games with media partners that are conference partners that they probably don't value as much as the Big Ten or the SEC or whoever. So it's interesting too. They got a tour of the ADs in the Pac-12, the New World ADs got a tour of Pac-12 enterprises yesterday. That business, Puck, is a sneaky little side hustle that they have put together. All the ADs were excited about it. The whatever they're seeing on paper from revenue projections must be encouraging to them. You know, that enterprise is producing NBA games. It produced some Major League Baseball. It produced events for other conferences.
Are they doing the Warriors games? Is that what they're doing?
Warriors, yeah, they did some Warriors games out of that production facility. Like there was a night you know, a couple of months ago where they did a Pac-12 football game. They did a Warriors game. I think they did a MLB game on the same day. That building is doing some production work, and it's doing, you know, it's also, you know, the dirty little secret, like Cal and Stanford didn't have the infrastructure for the ACC network. I believe that Pac-12 Enterprises is getting some of that business. They won't say it, but they won't deny it either. I think there's a little handshake agreement that, you know, they're collecting money from that. And so you're San Diego State or Fresno State, Colorado State, Utah State, you're in this new conference. You suddenly have the production capability to surpass ESPN Plus. And now you're also collecting this little side hustle, this revenue stream that's churning off to the side. It's a very interesting and additive thing for the conference.
Hey, what is going on with this Power Four conference? What is their end game for people that don't know this? They want to take more control of the NCAA championships, which they oversee, right? It's the NCAA tournament. It's the College World Series. I would assume it's softball as well. They don't control the football. That's a separate thing. But they want more control over that, more say. What's the end game with that?
Well, look, you know, major college football broke away with the college football playoff, and they turned it into this, you know, $1 billion Super Bowl-like 12-team tournament, and everybody's getting rich off it. They're all looking for new revenue. And so what the Power Four conferences want is they want to take control of all the NCAA championships. Really, they mainly want the NCAA tournament because that men's NCAA tournament, there's a lot of money buried in that. And, you know, I've been told they want more access, but the truth is they already have access to the tournament. If you look at the Power Four schools, they dominate the tournament. When you look at the overall seeds that get into the tournament. But what they really want, you know, Stu Jackson, the WCC commissioner, told me he's concerned that, you know, the fund, the NCAA tournament units are paid, you know, I think it was, you know, like, you know, $600 million in that fund that gets paid out to all these schools in these rolling 6-year periods. They want control of that fund and what they do with that fund. And it scares everybody who's not in the Power Four, because while Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti can say, hey, we're not going to take access away from these other schools, what they could do is they could, you know, change the way that the money gets paid out. And the women's NCAA tournament is going to, you know, earn NCAA tournament units for the schools that participate for the first time this year. There's just a lot of money packed into that, Puck. And the truth is the NCAA does a lot wrong. It needs to be, you know, a governance overhaul. But the championship events are what the NCAA does especially well. If you've been to Omaha, if you've seen the NCAA tournament, if you've seen volleyball, NCAA championships, swimming, track and field, they do this well. It's the one thing they do well, and you would be coming in and undercutting that. And of course, what do they want to do? They want to run off and create, CFP-like revenue structure in all these championship events, and they want to cut themselves in. And right now, everybody else in, major college football, if you line up the Power Four and you line up everybody else, guess what? There are more members with the everybody else. Everybody else is going, well, wait a minute, what more do you need? You already have autonomous governance. Why do you need to take control of these events? It's coming in June. Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, is saying, don't overreact. It's just a proposal. But, Stu Jackson of the WCC and Tom Wisterstill, the commissioner of the Big Sky, certainly Teresa Gold and the Pac-12 are all going to be looking over going, well, wait a minute. Why do you want control of this? And look what happened with the CFP. The Big Ten and the SEC gave themselves 58% of the revenue and are now in control of the thing. They're going to try to do that with the NCAA tournament, Puck, and this is not good for sports.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's more money. I think it's more access for their teams. I could even see a day and age where they're like, why are we giving all these automatic bids out for these conferences that shouldn't even be in there? But which is terrible, because that's what makes that tournament the best tournament in the world.
Yeah,
it's just nothing compares to the NCAA tournament, because it's a one and done, and you could that little team can upset that power team. What do you think? College football 5 years from now, you and I are sitting here. We're older, we're grayer. You're probably better shape, so I'm fatter. What does college football look like in 5 years?
I think it's going to separate from the rest of the sports. I think everybody kind of thinks now 5 years is a little ambitious with that timeline, but I think right around 2030 or so, I would expect college football to be on its own. And, I just talked right before coming on with you, I was talking to Kyle Smith, the Stanford coach, your former friend.
Yeah.
And, he's in the ACC now at Stanford. He's not complaining about the travel like Mick Cronin is at UCLA. But Kyle's like, hey, if we're being real, it would be great if basketball could get back to being a regional thing someday, because there's plenty of good teams in every region that could play each other, and you don't need to fly across the country to find good games, and it's silly. And, and from a men's basketball standpoint, like if Mick Cronin at UCLA thinks he's got it bad, wait till soccer and volleyball and softball start talking, because they're not going to be taking chartered flights. They're going to be sitting in the Michigan, the Ann Arbor airport, trying to connect and get a connecting flight back to campus. And so, I think football splits away. I think the same halves are going to be at the top. I think revenue sharing, the athletes will organize. I think we'll have some rails and some limitations on the portal, collectively bargain. What my hope would be is that Congress has intervened and said, you can't run away with it all. And it can't just be, the 16 and 18 teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. You have to create a larger division. I'd like to see, a relegation and promotion model where, maybe there is an upper level with 48 teams, and then there's a lower level with 48 teams. And if you spend the money and you play well enough, you play in the upper division. And I'd love to see that, but it feels like that may be a little ambitious. But 5 years from now, I think it's starting to get its feet underneath it and move away from the rest of the sports, because football should be separated.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, just a few more minutes. Big game tonight in college basketball. Oregon State's playing great basketball. They're playing Gonzaga. It's a rematch. They already have defeated Gonzaga. Now they're going to play in the Kennel. Wayne Tickle's done a nice job this year. Big game for the Beavs tonight as they take on the Zags in the rematch.
Yeah, it was huge for him to win that game at Gill Coliseum. Like, that was a validating moment for Wayne Tinkle's program. Like, he has really struggled since the Elite Eight appearance. A few years ago, he's been really bad. They have been especially bad on the road, Puck. They were like 3-34 on the road coming into like this month in the last 37 games. And so it'd be a big one for him to go on the road and beat Gonzaga again. But again, this WCC conference, Gonzaga looks like it's fallible. They lost, after Oregon State got them, Santa Clara beat them at home. So this isn't your normal Gonzaga team. That said, Mark Few's a hell of a coach. 9 straight Sweet 16s is hard to argue with. they will be there by the end of the season playing like a team that can contend in a Sweet 16. I have no doubt about that. But the WCC tournament is going to be wild. I'll be there in Vegas. It's March 6th through the 11th. Men and women play together. Women play in the morning. Men, they stagger them in the evening. And so that tournament, though, has double buys. And so it's why all these games matter. Like, it's why Oregon State has to beat Pepperdine. It's why Washington State has to win every possible game they can win. Because every time you move up in seeding, you avoid having to play games in that conference tournament. You don't want to be seed 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You want to be in the top 4 seeds, top 2 seeds. Huge advantages for those programs. So keep an eye on Wayne Tinkle. He's got a really international roster. Guys are playing well. Can they sweep Gonzaga? Can they beat them at their place?
Be great. They got great size. I mean, great size and athleticism, and they just play it very European style of basketball. And just in terms of the WCC, it's been fun to watch. I mean, there's great basketball teams in this conference. San Francisco's a sneaky good team. We talked about Santa Clara. I mean, of all the teams that I've watched this year, St. Mary's is clearly the best one. It is watching Sharonis Marshallonis' kid play point guard for St. Mary's is just unbelievable. He plays just like his dad, the same BS where he draws all these fouls, but they're a hell of a basketball team.
Randy Bennett's such a good coach.
Randy Bennett's
such a good coach.
He's such a great coach. And then last thing on that one is, do we think it's going to happen that St. Mary's will join the Pac-12 as just a basketball school?
I can tell you, St. Mary's is standing on deck. It's got its best clothes on. It's got its suitcase in its hand. That has to terrify the WCC a little bit, but they understand it's business. St. Mary's would like very much to be with Gonzaga, but the Pac-12 to this point is saying, hey, we're focused on the football piece, finding that 8th and 9th member of football, if it's going to be 8 or 9. And then St. Mary's, I think, is hopeful that the Pac-12 doesn't take 4, right? Because if they do, then they wouldn't need St. Mary's. But I think, in basketball, you need 10 schools in your conference for scheduling to be just right. So you don't have to play a bunch of games before Christmas against each other, but you still get to play everybody round robin. Everybody in the Pac-12, the ADs are all telling me, and they're basketball ADs, they're all saying 10 is the number. So it just makes sense to me that if you go to 8 or 9 in football, and now you need a 10th member for basketball, St. Mary's is there and waiting. They've been, I think 5 NCAA tournament units in the last 3 years. Their net rating average is, 15th in the country in the last 5 years. They're the best team in the WCC right now. They make a lot of sense. And the only hesitation I have is, you look at their campus, you look at their gym. Do you want them for more than basketball? Probably not, right? You just take them for basketball and that's it. But I can tell you that I think if St. Mary's is offered, they would the Pac-12 couldn't finish the sentence, and I think they would be in saying we're in.
Okay, last thing for you. You were a Giants fan growing up?
Yeah.
How much does it bother you what the Dodgers are doing? Does baseball need to do something about it?
Yeah, they're already talking about it. I mean, the owners are already talking about it at the meetings. It's not right what's happening. And, unfortunately that league, the best thing about that league is that, you get the Yankees and the Dodgers in the World Series, and it's great for TV, and the owners have to be celebrating. Shohei Ohtani's been just such an ambassador for the game, even though I have a hard time believing that he didn't know what was going on with the interpreter. Guy placed 19,000 bets.
Of course. Listen,
19,000 bets.
I don't buy it for a second that he didn't know what was going on.
Guy was like the most undisciplined gambler, 19,000 bets. Yeah. He's betting on University of Portland soccer. Yeah. You telling me he didn't bet on the thing that was in front of him that he saw every day, baseball? That's where I'm an undisciplined mess. I'm stealing from my best friend. But you know what? I can't bet on baseball. Yeah, There's no way. There's no way. I can't believe that. They shipped him off. He signed the agreement. He's in Japan, never to be heard from again. But to me, baseball's got an issue here because you want what the NFL has. The beauty of the NFL is 20 different teams have made the NFL playoffs in the last 6 years. And so that's beautiful. That's awesome. Fans all over feel like they're part of it. In Major League Baseball, you don't have that, and it hurts the game. And so the Dodgers being able to stockpile talent, and defer all of the salary, like Shohei's salary for so many years. It's a loophole that needs to be closed.
Yeah. All right, great stuff. Read all of his work, johncanzano.com. Follow him on Twitter, John Canzano BFT. Got a radio show too, folks, 3 to 6 every single day down in Portland, 750 The Game. John's brought to you every week by Zeke's Pizza. All right, John, we'll catch you later. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, man. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, there he is. John Canzano. Again, joins us every single week. Brought to you by Zeke's Pizza. Full episode of John Canzano up separately on YouTube coming out later. He's also part of the entire show that we podcast or put up on YouTube as well. But if you just want to watch his episode, we place that up there separately. So search for it on YouTube, Puck Sports, John Canzano. Also, listen to the Canzano episode inside the full show that's up later, up on Apple and Spotify and wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, everything is always up there at pucksports.com.